Hello. Hi, Miss Penny. I'm so glad that you could join. And I'm proud of you because normally you're not really tech savvy. And so you can't get on a lot of times. So I am proud. Let me just go to Facebook and see. Um, hey, Amanda. I know you're going to pop in and pop out. So what's going on? I missed you. You have not been coming in to get your facials. Okay? Don't think I forgot. You used to was coming in every week and now all of a sudden. Okay? All right, guys. So I'm not trying to keep y'all long tonight because I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm a little tired. And the reason I'm tired is because I had like a little bout of like vertigo. Okay, Thursday, period. I had like a little bout of vertigo. And so if you guys have ever had vertigo, like you get mad dizzy and you're just like doing nothing. Then you get so dizzy that it actually makes you a little sick. And then next thing you know, you feel like you got a hangover and you haven't drank anything. So that's what happened to me. So I've been trying to relax this weekend and kind of just like get myself up to par. But it's been a long time. Left you without a dope beat to step to. I mean, it has been up here. I haven't been up here in like, feels like forever. So, got some good things going on in my life though. So, that's always a plus. So, let me start out. I am Tanisha Levon, holistic life coach, master's in metaphysics. So, I'm a metaphysician. And the bottom line is this is I just, want to help people. That's why I'm up here. That's why, I do this. It is a work of love. So I'm sorry if sometimes it feels a little bit harsh, but I'm up here so that we can help each other be better people. So first and foremost, if you're coming in on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe. If you enjoy the content, please share the video so that others can subscribe, okay? Just so that, we're all on the same page here, all right? So, y'all, today it's going to be good. It's going to be quick. It is going to be to the point. Well, I hope it's quick because y'all know once I get to talking, I'll be talking. But tonight I want to talk to you about a concept. Don't pass the pruning, okay? You will kill your growth. Accountability is the only way for growth, okay? We all have certain people in our lives that keep us accountable. And you want to thank God for those people because those people are here always to help us, right? So, as we all know, no one likes being chastised or corrected. Like, that is something that is detestful. Who you think you're talking to? Who you telling? You're not my mother. You're not my father. You're not even my boss. And even if you are my boss, who do you think you're talking to? So we all kind of have that who you think you're talking to mentality, okay? A lot of times it stems from a variety of things, right? So a lot of people don't like being chastised or corrected. Why? Because of insecurities. If you get corrected and you're already insecure about something, it only makes you feel worse about what you were insecure about. It's one of those things where it's almost like when people correct you, you're like, you can't separate your who from your do. Meaning, like, you can't separate who you are from what you do or what you've done. Just because you've done something bad, just because you've done something that others might feel was hurtful, that doesn't mean that that's who you are. It means that you made a bad decision. It means that you didn't think before you spoke or didn't think before you acted. It doesn't, what you do and who you are not always one and the same. Now, there's some people that after a certain amount of consistency of behavior, yes, that's who they are. But then there's other times where it's people that, like, you just made a mistake. And now that you've made the mistake, you've apologized, you've rectified it. So you got to learn how to separate your who from your do, okay? A lot of people don't like being chastised or corrected because of past traumas. So sometimes you go through something and you kind of feel like the world owes you because you've gone through so much that you feel like, I have an excuse to be the way that I am. I have an excuse to talk to people this way. I have an excuse to act this way because this happened to me and it didn't happen to you. So because it happened to me, I get to be like this and nobody can't check me on it. So a lot of times our traumas give us a sense of entitlement and negative behavior. Another reason that people don't like to be chastised or corrected is because they're shame based. Meaning, like, I'm a shame based person. I'm not so much anymore, though, now that I'm older. Like, that just doesn't faze me. It takes a lot to embarrass me at this point. Like, who's embarrassed? I'm not embarrassed. But when I was younger, I used to tell my first husband, like, if you ever want me to kill you, embarrass me, and then that will be like your death sentence, because anything else I could get over, but embarrassment and you making me feel shame in front of mad people, absolutely not. Which in essence is exactly what he did, though, because he had an affair with my best friend in front of everybody, and then everybody at my parents' church found out, and I was embarrassed. And honestly, that was more why I left him than the cheating even was. Like, oh my God, now I got to get up. I'm a minister and I got to get up in front of these people and teach them. And everybody know that my husband was balls deep and my best friend. Like, sir, you got to go, because now I can't get over this because I'm too embarrassed. So I'm sorry. Somebody was just texting me. So I'm like, sir, you was wilding. Okay. So if you're shame based, like somebody says something in front of you, like I have students, and there's some students that are so down to earth and you can say what you need to say to them. And then there's other students that if you say something to them in front of somebody else, they like freak out. They get crazy. They get so upset. They make a bigger scene than what it is. They walk out, they slam doors, they yell, they talk in the air because I don't know who somebody, it gets crazy. So that means that they're shame based. So I can usually tell right away, like if somebody's shame based or not. You could tell by the way that they act in regular life. Like they're usually shifty eyed. They do something and they're always looking around to see who watched them do it, because they're always leery of somebody saying something to them or pointing out what it is that they did. Not feeling good about yourself. You could just be in a bad space in life, and now somebody's trying to correct you or chastise you, and you're like, first of all, I already feel like crap. You're gonna add another like bowling ball to the list of me feeling like crap. Feeling less than, the list can honestly goes on and on, like for why people don't like being chastised or corrected. But here is the true reality of it. Being corrected is necessary for your growth, okay? If you walk around life and you do not get corrected, meaning that life doesn't correct you or people don't correct you, you will not grow, okay? So I named this Don't Pass the Pruning, and there's a specific reason why, because I'm not sure if any of us garden or we know about plants or trees or whatever, but let's talk about the concept of pruning, shall we? So we all know what pruning means, correct? It means like to cut the dead parts off of the tree so that the tree can grow. But let's look at it a little bit deeper, okay? Let's equate how this very same principle can relate to us as living people. Because, hey, here's the thing. A plant is a living thing. So why are we any different? We're actually very similar in nature. You know how you love on plants, you talk to plants while you water the plants, and then the plant flourishes and the plant grows. That's what we do to our kids. We love on them, we talk to them, we give them affirmations, we water them with information and wisdom, and then they grow. So we're not much different in essence than how a plant operates, okay? So let's delve into what pruning a plant does and why it is so imperative for this to happen, all right? So, one, pruning removes stored energy for the plant and encourages new growth for the plant. Oh, how good is that? All right. So being corrected, being pruned, cutting off the dead parts of yourself will release stored energy for you. Like, you've ever had times in your life where you just feel tired and overwhelmed and despondent, and you're just like, oh my God, enough is enough. I've already taken too much. Can the universe, can God please just give me a break? Okay. I know a lot of people don't like when people use God and the universe interchangeably, but I do. Okay. That's because I have a deeper level of understanding of certain things. No, they're not the same thing, but God is not a person. So let's just debunk that real quick. Like, he's not a person, he's not a man. He is a energy, an essence, a spirit. Hence, that's what the universe is as well. Not the earth, it's something totally different. All right. So you know how you feel just like despondent or whatever, and you're just like, oh my God, life is too much. Life is too much. And you have these depressing moments and you want to cut your hair, and you end up cutting your hair and you feel like all the dead energy and everything came off of you, and now you feel a little bit more alive. That's usually why women cut their hair. It is essentially the same thing as pruning. We cut our hair so that we feel that release of the dead and unutilized energy that's surrounding us. So that's another good thing. Like, pruning releases stored energy for you, and it encourages new growth for you. It's also the removal of unwanted or overgrown parts of the plant in order to make it grow well and appear nicer. Now, hey Tiff, we don't always realize that we have unwanted or overgrown parts of ourselves. And those things need to be cut off. Those things need to be clipped, trimmed, so that we can grow and appear nicer, right? So we have traumas, baggage, things that we've taken from childhood into adulthood, things that we've taken from teenagehood into adulthood, things that we've taken from adulthood into even further maturity. These things need to be cut off. We have to remove unwanted or overgrown parts. It's no different than our skin. You got to exfoliate your skin, because who keeps wanting the same dead face that's all ashy and scaly? You got to exfoliate your skin so that the overgrown stuff gets off of you. I don't understand why sometimes we don't equate the things that happen physically in this world and in this universe to what happens to us spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Because here's the thing, we are all one and the same. It is all essentially connected. The moment that you can correlate what happens outside and then what bring it into what happens inside, you will have learned the keys of life, my friends. Okay. So another thing is, pruning promotes fruiting. It enables you, and I say you because we're talking about humans here, them to produce more fruit. Okay. So when you have a tree that is supposed to bear fruit, which, hey, y'all, what does the Bible say? That we're supposed to bear fruit as people. We're supposed to bear fruits of the spirit. We are supposed to bear some type of fruit in our lives, whether it's some type of wisdom, health, prosperity. We're supposed to be bearing fruit. Pruning promotes fruiting. So if you allow yourself to be pruned, you will promote more fruiting in your life, meaning more things will come to fruition. More manifestations will come to the forefront. More things will be added into your life if you allow yourself to be pruned. All right. It also makes sure that there is a balanced distribution of fruits on the tree. So guess what? You know how you can have a tree, a fruit tree, and you never see a fruit tree where all the fruit is on one side and then the other side of the tree is dead. And that comes from pruning the tree. It ensures that there is a balanced distribution of fruits. So that's, again, this stuff seems also simple to me, but that's what you want to see in your life. You want to see a balanced distribution of fruits in your life. You don't want to see all fruit with your kids and no fruit in your marriage. All fruits in your marriage, but your kids is running amok, acting a fool, breaking into cars and robbing people. All fruit with your kids and in your marriage, but at your job, you can't get it together. All fruit at your job or in your business, but your family's falling apart. You need an even, balanced distribution of fruit. And in order to get that, you have to allow yourself to be pruned. Okay. It ensures the longevity of the tree. It ensures that all diseased and damaged parts of the plant are gotten rid of to ensure the smooth growth of the plant. Here's another thing. If diseased or damaged parts of the plant are not removed quickly, the disease can spread and take over all parts of the plant. So now, you know how you have a kid growing up, and let's just use children because that's the easiest example, right? You have a child, and your child has a problem with, I don't know, let's think of something small. Your child has a problem with talking back, right? And you don't nip the talking back right away at a young age. You do realize that as you don't clip that off, the damaged or diseased parts will spread and end up contaminating the whole tree. So let's say they can't wash their mouth. Now next scene, they can't wash their mouth, and now you're telling them what to do. And now not only do they not wash their mouth, they don't listen to you at all. Now, not only are they not listening to you at all, they're adding on to the things that you told them not to do. Now you've told them not to do that, and they're doing it anyway, and now they end up getting themselves in trouble with the law. Now they're in trouble with the law. They get back out. They think everything's going to be good. Now they get back in trouble with the law. If you do not stop something at its smallest stage, it will grow into a monster that is too big for you to handle. So the pruning and the chastisement has to happen while the thing is small, all right? So what we don't understand is as above, so below. And all that means is nothing happens physically without happening metaphysically or spiritually as well. Nothing happens without first happening spiritually. So the same way that this happens for a plant, the same way that this happens for grass, the same way that this happens for a flower, it happens for us as people too, okay? If there's something that needs to be done to a plant, there's also something that needs to be done to us. We aren't exempt, all right? The moment we realize how unexempt we are to this principle right here, the better our life will be. All right, so without spiritual pruning, because it's the same thing, remember, the dead things, the traumas, the injuries, the brokenness, the baggage, all of that stays attached to us. And then it begins to permeate and take over the entire part of your being. And nobody wants that. All right. I know so many people that have dealt with trauma in their life, and they bring it to every situation. They bring it to every circumstance. They show up to everything with this book bag of trauma on their back as though it's a part of them, and they can't just take it off. You have a choice as to whether you want things to stay on you or whether you want to knock things off of you. All right. So there's only two ways to be pruned. All right. You can prune yourself with self-accountability, or you can be pruned by others with constructive criticism or not so constructive criticism and correction. These are the only two ways to be pruned, people. You can prune yourself through self-accountability, or you can allow yourself to be pruned by others by criticism, correction, or constructive criticism. Okay? The first one is a little bit hard because self-accountability is not always easy because it takes tons of self-awareness. All right. And the sad fact is that majority of people are not really self-aware. They don't realize how they're coming off to others. They're not aware of like their facial expressions, their body language, how they're talking to people, how they're received by people, how people receive them versus how they receive others. Like some people just lack that level of self-awareness. They could see it in everybody else, or they can see the problems in everybody else, but it's very hard for them to pinpoint the problems that they may have within themselves. So self-awareness is one of those things that it has to be built. It's a skill that needs to be developed. It needs to be cultivated. It's not just freely given to us. So you don't just wake up one day and you're just super self-aware. You become super self-aware by evaluation of self at all times and allowing yourself to be pruned by others. If somebody takes notice to something that you did, do you automatically dismiss it? Do you automatically say, I didn't do that? That's not what I said. That's not what I meant. Just listen. Listen and take in what they're saying. My mother told me this a very long time ago. I probably was like in my very early 20s, and she was saying something to me and I just could not see it. I was like, Mom, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't feel like I do that. I don't feel like it's a part of who I am. And she was like, listen, let me just say this. Why don't you just listen? She was like, because the best thing that you can do is, even if somebody says something to you that doesn't resonate with you, like you don't feel like I don't feel like I do this. Even if it doesn't resonate with you, she was like, take it, right? Put it on a mental shelf in your mind. Take the correction and say thank you. I appreciate you showing this to me. I appreciate you exposing this to me. I'm going to think on this. Don't automatically get defensive, because then you're pushing it off. You're pushing it away, meaning that you're pushing away an opportunity for growth. So I said, well, why would I put it on a shelf if I don't believe that I do it? She said, because if you do it, somebody else is going to say it soon enough. Some other situation, some other circumstance, something is going to show you that this is a behavior that you exhibit. This is something that you do. And you putting it on a shelf in your mind, that way when somebody comes back and they say, hey, da 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 da, you can say, oh my God, somebody else said that. You can take it off the shelf and now work on it. So, but if you just dismiss it, you have completely pushed away your opportunity for growth. All right. So self-awareness is something that needs to be developed. It needs to be cultivated. Look at yourself. Look inward. When somebody says something, listen, take it in. If you say something to somebody and you realize that their response was a certain way, like they say, oh, okay, or they walk away, then ask yourself, how did I respond to them? How did I just talk to them just now? Did I just give them an attitude? Listen, my students have a perception of me at the school. I am, they call me hashtag unbothered. They say that I look mean and I seem like I'm mean until they get to know me. All this stuff is true. They're not lying. I do look mean. I do seem like I'm mean if you don't know me. And every time they say that, I be like, oh my God, I got to do better, because I know that that's not my personality. And the people close to me know that that's not my personality. But the perception that I give off upon first glance, upon first meeting me, is not one of approachability. It's not one of, she lets people in. And I tell myself I have to work on it all the time. So when they say it, I'm always like, I don't be like, no, I'm not. I'm not a mean person. I'm nice. So why would people even think that? I'm always like, oh my God, I know I be wilding. I got to do better, because I do. Like, I don't always realize what my facial expressions are doing. So I have to like constantly work on that. It is a constant work in progress. It is not something that comes to me very easily. I have to literally make a conscious decision to work on it. Okay. The other part where other people are doing the pruning is even harder. And it's usually because we seem to take more offense or be on the defense if someone chastises or corrects us. Nobody likes other people pointing out their flaws, because what that translates to people is, I'm better than you. So when somebody points out the flaw of you, or you point out a flaw, I was having a conversation with somebody today. And she said, can I just talk to you for a second? I just really need to like get something off my chest. I really need a different perspective. And I said, sure. She ends up telling me about a situation she had with a friend. And she was more coming to the friend's defense. The friend had paid for a service that they didn't get, which caused something that they did to not come out right. She wasn't talking bad about what the person did. She was talking about the person that she paid and how she needs to go back to them and say, hey, I paid you this amount of money. This needed to be done. I need this done. But the friend took it like she was personally attacking her. Like, oh, I know I shouldn't have told you. I know I shouldn't even have told you how much I paid for it because, you're a perfectionist. You're never satisfied. Nothing's ever right when it comes to you. And the friend literally pretty much almost deaded the friendship because of it. Actually, friendship is dead. So all because all she wanted to do was help. So she pointed out something that could have helped her essentially. And had she listened, the friend could have grown and actually been probably tons more successful in what she was doing. But because she wanted a bunch of yes men around her, when the friend actually said, no, this isn't right. Listen, as your friend, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that they didn't do their job right. She took offense to it. She got defensive, took offense to it, and then attacked the friend as opposed to looking at it saying, you know what? You're absolutely right. I need to go back to the drawing board and tell them they need to redo this for me. So sometimes people just don't like help in that way. They'll turn it on you. They'll be upset with you. Like, it gets them defensive because in essence, it says, well, to them, not in real life, but to them, it says, well, I'm pointing out something you did wrong. So that means I'm better than you. And some people have such low self-worth. They have such a low view of themselves that the moment you come to them with any type of correction or chastisement, they feel like it's a personal attack on them as opposed as an opportunity for growth for them. As people, we have to look at these as opportunities for growth as opposed to always jumping to the defense of what was said, okay? Like, nobody wants anybody to feel like they're better than them. Nobody. And honestly, nobody's better than nobody. It doesn't really matter what the situation is, or whether you got 2 cars and I got 1, whether you live in a good neighborhood and I live in a bad, whether you got good kids or I got bad kids, whether you got good skin and I got bad skin. Nobody's actually better than anybody else because it's all really relative to who you're around and who likes that type of thing versus who doesn't. So nobody essentially is better than anybody else. You've got rich people that are literally jumping off of ledges to their death, and they have all the money in the world. And in our mind, we like, if we had all that money, we wouldn't be doing that. And we really don't know what we would be doing if we had all that money. Because money, although it seems great, does not buy happiness. You know what I'm saying? So correction, pruning, criticism, everywhere. There is always correction everywhere. Pruning is everywhere. You just have to take advantage of the opportunities to be pruned. Pruning, by the way, does not feel good. It doesn't feel good to a plant when you do it, and it definitely does not feel good to a person when you do it. I have to chastise all the time, all day, every day at work. I try my hardest to do it in a way that makes them feel loved. I try to do it in a way that makes them feel like it's either one, I'm not playing, this needs to be stopped, you got to do this, or another is me joking around, kind of like, come on, y'all know better. I raised you better than this. This is not what I've shown you. Stop acting like you don't got no sense because I gave it to you. There's always chastisement in your marriage. There's going to be chastisement. There's going to be times where you need to be checked. And a check is not necessarily disrespectful. What a check means is you stop the behavior then while the person's doing it. That's what a check is. That's what pruning is. Pruning is not, okay, I'm out to eat, right? Or I'm out acting a fool, and my husband and I are out, and I'm out wilding, twerking on the dance floor, doing craziness, and he's looking at me, and finally he says, yo, chill. Like, can you stop? That's a check. Him waiting until we get home and us having a conversation about it, that's not necessarily a check. That's just like a conversation. And it is still pruning because if I listen and I take the information in, then I'm being pruned in that moment. Okay. Um, but if you can't take any type of criticism, somebody tells you, "Oh, I like this, but you could have done this better." Oh, you go send something at work and they say, "Hey, I love what you're doing, but here's the thing. What I need you to do is I need you to add A, B, C, and you're like, so what? What are you saying? What I did wasn't right?" That's not what they said. You guys ever been around people that hear things that wasn't said and you're like, nobody said that? Like, in their mind, they have created a narrative that this is what you meant when you said this, even though that's not what you said. What you said was what you said. I like this part. This part could have been done better. Maybe next time you could try A, B, C, and D. So what are you saying? You didn't like this? That's not what I said. It's not what I said. And that's where a lot of conflict comes from, because a lot of people hear things in their mind's eye. Like, it's like you said it, but they didn't. They heard it, but you didn't say it. So that becomes a real sticky situation for correction, because people are always hearing things that aren't really there. Like, I had a situation this weekend and somebody said to the person, like, "You look good. You got bigger, older, you look good." What do you mean? What do you mean by that? And he's like, "Nothing. I just meant that, you look good." Like, that's not what you said. You said, he was like, "Okay, I'm sorry, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was like," and I said, "I know what you meant. You meant A, B, C, and D." And he was like, "Yeah, that's what I meant." But she was not having it. She went off, literally. And I was like, oh, like, that was just a weird misunderstanding. And it could have actually went left, but he let it go because it could have kept going and been a super uncomfortable conversation in a super uncomfortable situation. But he kind of just like was like, all right, like, okay, you're hearing stuff that's not there. So pruning, chastisement, correction, all here for your growth. You cannot grow if you do not allow yourself to be corrected. You do not grow if you do not allow yourself to be criticized. You do not grow if you don't want to hear anything that anybody has to say in regards to what you're doing or your behavior. You stunt your own growth. All right. Another thing, you should never have yes friends around you all the time. Like, that's like a recipe for disaster. Like, people that just got a clique, people that will always agree with them, people that, almost, I don't want to use the word worship, but they almost idolize your relationship with them. Like, you're so great to them, you can do no wrong. You never, ever, ever really want to be in a circle like that. It's nice, it's encouraging, it's uplifting, but it's not real. It's a facade. You need people in your camp that are going to check you when you were wrong. You need people in your camp that are going to tell you the truth, even if the truth hurts a little bit. And they don't have to say it in a way that's rude or mean, but you have to have those people in your life that'll be able to be like, okay, you was wilding, right? Okay, because you was wilding. Well, no, because I don't feel like I was wilding, but you was wilding. That was wilding, because there was another way that you could have handled that. A lot of people are so used to everybody agreeing with them. You get on the phone with your friends, you tell your side of the story, you say what happened on your end, you did everything right, they did everything wrong, and then the person you're talking to listens to everything you're saying and then just agrees with you did everything right and they did everything wrong. They never, ever, ever come against it and say, well, what did you do? So what did you say when that happened? Okay, you don't think that could have been the part that escalated it? Like, a lot of people don't have those accountability partners in their life that'll kind of give them the business, in a sense, like get to the bottom of things. I know for a fact that I get on my sister's every last nerve. I know that I do. I know that I do. Because she could call me and try to tell me anything, and I'm usually going to say, okay, well, I hear what you're saying, because I get it. And certain stuff is super valid. Certain things are like, nope, yup, that was crazy. because, yup, I agree with you 100%. And then there's other times that I'll be like, no, because see, here's the thing. You shouldn't have said it like that, or you shouldn't have did that, or you be jumping off the ledge. You got to chill sometimes. But now she could trust my counsel because she knows I'm unbiased. I'm not going to just say yes all the time. There's times that I agree and there's times that I don't. And I am going to tell both times. I'm not going to like just not hold back and be like, oh, okay, well, I mean, whatever you want to do, I mean, that's fine. They deserved it anyway. Or, if she's feeling something about something, it's okay to feel a certain way. It's okay to be upset, but then what are you doing with that? Like, what are we going to do? We both get upset about stuff. I call her about stuff that I get upset about. And sometimes she just be like, and she won't say as much as I say to her. But I know that she just be like, like, I'm not about to say much, but I don't really agree. And my mother, oh yeah, that was out. You was gonna get the truth regardless. It was gonna be straight, no chaser, nothing. She was gonna give it to you straight, real as she could give it to you. Your little feelings were gonna be hurt. You thinking you about to go over there and they about to be the bad guy, and in reality, you the bad guy. And you like, oh, I remember I told her, I was like, you were supposed to be on my side. She was like, not for that one. Because had you called me, I would have told you not to go over there and do that foolish mess. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry I told you. But yes, we need that in our life. We don't need a bunch of yes men. Everything we say, everything we do, yes, because this is what I'm saying. I agree. Everything we do is not agreeable. All right. So what's passing the pruning? Okay. This is a lesson that I taught about 20 years ago. I wonder if my dad remembers when I actually taught this, because it was just something that came to me from my mother trying to say something. My mother was probably chastising me about something. And I was like, So it was a concept that I came up with when I noticed that in my parents' church, that accountability was the name of the game for my parents. So you was not going to be in my parents' church without getting checked. You were going to get checked. You were going to get chastised. They were going to point out the flaws and the things that needed to be worked on so that you can get to a higher level in life. All right. So as a leader in their church, that came with a very high accountability factor. All right. Because you were sure enough going to get checked, period. Like you were not going to get away unscathed. If they noticed something that you could have been doing better in, you better believe that they were going to pull you to the side and they were going to tell you. All right. And sometimes it was said in front of everyone if we were in a leadership meeting. So embarrassment was a non-factor, because you could easily come to the leadership meeting and you could tell that they weren't like happy about something. And everybody, literally, even their own kids, would be on the edge of their seat, because we would be like, ooh, somebody going to get it today. And we was all hoping that it wouldn't be us. And when it wasn't us, we were so grateful. But when it was us, that thing burned and it hurt so badly. But then you never did it again. And you actually essentially understood where it was coming from and what they were saying. And the odds of you exhibiting that behavior again or doing it again were usually slim to none. So being under leadership, being under accountability is very familiar to me. Like, it does not bother me to be under accountability, to be accountable to someone. That's why it doesn't bother me being submissive to a husband, because I'm used to being under leadership. I'm used to understanding that there's a hierarchy in the way that things go, and being able to put yourself under a construct and be accountable to that vision in that construct. Okay. But let me tell you what I noticed. All right. When people would get corrected, instead of taking accountability for what happened or what they did, what they would do is they would pass the buck to somebody else. And that's what we all do. It's always something or someone else's fault, right? Like, you can get in trouble at work. Oh, it was such and such. Oh, you need to be at work on time. Oh, there was traffic. Oh, where is this? This needs to be more organized. Oh, I wasn't the last person who touched it. It's always something or somebody else or a reason that you did it. Instead of just saying you're right, I will fix it. It won't happen again. I will do it next time. Thank you. Instead, it is literally like human nature to take accountability and throw it away like a hot potato. Oh, Tiff, you left YouTube and went on Facebook. You're a traitor. Okay. Um, so it's like almost like somebody take you, throw the hot potato to you, and you're like, oh no, accountability. No, I don't want it. Like, oh, here, give it to them. Anytime. That's like listen, I'm telling y'all, I work at a school. I deal with so many different personalities on a daily basis. I could say one little thing. Hey, school starts at 9, right? Hey, you might want to start getting to school on time. Well, I mean, I gotta work. I work overnight. They don't pay my bills, so they don't have to see you working overnight and you having bills to pay has nothing to do with the contract that you signed that says you are supposed to be in this building every day at 9 a.m. The contract that you signed doesn't have any clauses, no memos, no addendums. Okay? So the contract you signed said be in this building by 9 o'clock. If you're not here by 9 o'clock, you are late. So if I say something about your lateness, the last thing I want to hear is what you did last night, because that part has nothing to do with me. And that's why I am such a stickler to accountability, because I cannot stand when people pass the buck to somebody else. Oh, it grinds my gears. Just take it. When I am in my boss's office and she starts to talk about the issues that she has with the teachers or what's going on in the school, I don't say a word. I say, you're right. I agree. 100%. I don't say, well, it's because of them. It's because of this. It's because of that. No. The moment that you take something that was meant for you and pass it to somebody else, you are now passing up your opportunity for growth. You're passing up the opportunity for you to actually gain something from it or to evolve from it. Okay. It cannot always be somebody else's fault. But here's the thing, in reality, it can always be somebody else's fault. So that's why accountability is a trait that you choose to operate in. Because hey, I was late because there was traffic. I was late because I got caught behind a bus. I was late because as soon as I got in the car, my baby threw up. I was late because when I got into the car, it didn't start this morning. I was late because when I came outside, I realized I left my keys in the house. I was late because when I came outside, I realized I forgot my hoodie or my phone and I had to run back and get it. I say all that to say that there will always be 1,000,002 reasons for why you don't do or act or be in the manner of the behavior or whatever you're supposed to be doing. There can always be a reason for why you don't do it, which turns into excuses. And excuses will never allow you to grow. Excuses only keep you exactly where you're at, because the moment you have an excuse for why you did something, that means you have an excuse to do it again. Right. Like if you every day, like, okay, all right. I know that Diggo was late to his interview because when he came outside, his tire was flat. That doesn't happen all the time. But if every single time something happens, it's because you never took the pruning to begin with. So now every time your excuse is passable, and now every time an excuse happens, something happens, and you're able to use that excuse. Today, I got caught behind like a farm, like those little tractors that like do something with the hay. Why he was on a regular road, I have no idea. But I got caught behind that truck today. But guess what? And then I got to the street near my job and there was a whole detour. I had to go all the way around, back around the whole other side of town to get back to where I needed to be. But guess what? I leave in enough time that even if those things happen, I still am on time. So my students had a nerve today to say, I was here at 8:30 waiting for you, and you got here at 8:48. I'm not mandated to be here to 9, y'all. So I come early and that's a luxury, but I got caught in some traffic. I still was on time though. So you don't get to say like, oh, you were supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be there at 8:30. Y'all are just used to me being there at 8:30. But that's not my time. My contract says 9 to 3:30, just like y'all's do. So no, man. So if every time something happens, you have an excuse as to why it happened or why you did it, you'll have an excuse to do it again. If my husband says something to me and I hit him, and I say, well, I only hit you because A, B, C, and D, then that means when D, E, F, G happens, I get to smack you again? Or does that mean that that behavior is over? Anytime you have an excuse, you have an excuse to repeat the behavior in general. So don't give yourself these petty ass excuses to keep doing the stuff you're doing because you're not growing, you're staying stagnant. All right. So here's the reality of it. When there's leadership in a place, a business, relationships, work, organizations, and life in general, it is the leader's job to get down to the root of the issues. That's why at work, you pretty much need constructive criticism. It's their job to get to the root. So we want them to be okay with our excuses when in reality, it could care less about any of that. They need you to be doing this at this time for this reason. The same way with marriages. People want to give the husband mad excuses. Husbands usually don't want to hear excuses. They just want to hear that you're not going to do that again, or you're going to try your best to not do that again. They don't want to hear why you did it, what you were feeling when you did it. This is what made you feel, and this is why they don't care about any of that. All they know is, can you please just not do that no more? Please. Now, if you want to have another conversation about your trauma so that he can be empathetic to the trauma, that conversation is not supposed to happen while he's talking to you about a behavior you did. It's just not the right time, okay? You cannot bring up why you did something, especially if the issue is him when he's bringing you up. That's not a conversation. That's a deflection. Now, if you really want to talk about it, give it some time and say, hey, I was thinking the last time we talked and I was doing this. These are some issues I'm really still dealing with. And, these are some things I might really need some help or some assistance in getting over. But the last thing you need to do is bring that thing up while he's bringing you up, and vice versa. When you're bringing him up, the last thing he needs to be doing is bringing up what you did. That's how you enter into conflict and stay there, because now everybody's ping-ponging the issues back to the other one instead of just taking it, digesting it, and then coming back another moment with your issue. But never bring issue for issue. That's never going to work. All right. So let's just say I'm the director of my program at work, right? So this is an example of what passing the pruning would be. I'm the director of my program at work, and let's say I have the key to unlock the door every single morning, right? And let's say I let my coworker borrow that key, and the next morning she's late. So my boss comes to me and says, the door was not open in time for the students. I need you to be on time so that they don't complain. And then I say, well, my coworker had the key, so I couldn't get in, and she was actually late. Okay, guess what? That's true. She did have the key. This is hypothetical, y'all. This is not a real story. She did have the key. I gave her my key, and she actually was late. And let's say I say that, no, I didn't have the key. My coworker had the key, and she was late. My boss wouldn't be able to say much after that, except for, okay, well, let me go talk to her, get to the bottom of it. So unless the boss decides to dive in on my lack of accountability by saying, I could care less who had the key, the job is yours to do that, then she's going to let that slide. No, she ain't never late. Yeah. Mm-mm. Although Amanda, she ain't late, but she ain't been early. Now she waiting her car until literally 9 o'clock, and then she gets out because she is over the foolery. Okay, she's over it. She's like, I'm not about to help them get nothing extra because they don't appreciate it, and I don't blame her. Okay, she tired of it. She over the BS, girl. You know how it go. Oh, now she's in YouTube, and then everybody's switching where they at. So, yeah. So let's say that my boss was like, okay, well, she had the key. She's not gonna say much. Um, but she might go to her and say, Tanisha said you had her key. So, please don't do that again. Guess what? Mistakes cause growth. Always. So guess what? My coworker will grow and evolve from that situation. But guess who didn't grow? I didn't. I didn't grow because I was the one that passed it to her. So now if my boss says something to her, she's not going to want to hear my boss's mouth again. She will probably never, ever, ever do that again. But guess what? I didn't grow because I passed the blame and the buck to her. So now the chastisement, the correction, the pruning happened to her and not me. So now the next time I decide to just be late or lose my key or whatever, I'm going to probably easily do that again because it was so easy for me to pass the buck the first time. Now, if I had taken that chastisement and said to myself, well, guess what? There was no excuse for that because I could have called her and got the key the night before. I could have stopped at her house the morning of and got the key. There's always accountability you can take unless you choose to not take it. So guess what? The growth has just passed on. You have just passed your pruning on to the next person. Then you're going to be wondering why the trees of life of people next to you are all growing and becoming better people, and you're still stuck in the same situation that you've been in for the last 10, 15 years. It's because you haven't grown because you won't allow yourself to. You're the same person, the same attitude, the same problems, the same issues, the same everything, because you won't take accountability for your own life and your own actions. All things are cause and effects. Every action has a reaction. Every cause has an effect. All right? So that's how you stay the same size in power if you don't take accountability and responsibility for your actions, because guess what? The moment you do that, it's like you quantum leap. You grow so fast, it's ridiculous. My student the other day burnt me on the steam, and my leg has this ugly scar on it. And I can fix that scar because that's what I do. I'm not worried about the scar on my leg at all. And she feels so bad, and I kept telling her, stop feeling bad. It was just a mistake. Like, mistakes, you will never do that again. You will never burn anybody with the steam by mistake again because you don't want this to happen to them. I don't trust people who never made a mistake because if you didn't make a mistake, you can't grow. Growth comes from mistakes. That's how it works. My husband used to tell me this story about a guy who was like flying a plane. And the guy was flying a plane and he ended up doing a test run and he crashed the plane. Nobody was really hurt except for him. And then there was no, the person was hurt. The person that was in the plane died. He thought that the guy was going to fire him. So he went down after he got out of hospital and everything. He went to the guy. He was like, hey, I'm going to put in my resignation. I know that this isn't going to work out. And the guy was like, wait, what are you doing? Why? And he was like, well, because I made such a huge mistake. I forgot. There was something he forgot to do, which was why the plane crashed. And he was like, I'm not going to fire you. As a matter of fact, now you're going to be my best worker. I definitely don't want you to leave because the fact that you did that, you will never make that mistake again. You will never do that again. So when you think that all hope is lost because you made a mistake or you did something wrong, that's not the mistake at all. The power is in acknowledging the mistake and growing from it. It always is. Just acknowledge it, say you did it, and move on. I always tell Terrellis, I am never really mad at what you're doing. I'm never really mad at what you did. But if you lie about it, and if you don't take accountability that you did it, I'm going to be more mad at that than I'm going to be at what you actually did. Like, I don't care about that. I don't care if you broke something. I don't care if you clogged the toilet. I don't care if you plugged the sink up because you dropped the toothpaste cap down there. I don't care about things like that because mistakes happen. I don't care about you being late. I don't care about any of that. But if you don't take accountability for it, I'm going to be more mad at your lack of accountability than I am going to be about the mistake that you made. You trying to cover it up and hide it and move around it and act like it wasn't you. Now I'm going to be more mad at that than I am at what you actually did. So accountability is the name of the game, all right? Growth hurts. Growth does not feel good, but growth comes from the sting of pruning by yourself or others. It doesn't come any other way. There's no other way to grow, people. That's why they're called growing pains. A lot of people be like, oh, growing pains, like, you know, when you're a kid and your knees hurt. No, growing pains hurt physically. Growing pains hurt emotionally. Growing pains hurt mentally. They hurt no matter what. They always hurt, okay? The one lie that we all have in life is that people think that because you get older, you get wiser. And that's not true. They think because you get older, you get more mature. That's not true. Time does not mature you. Just because you're old does not mean you are mature. There are a lot of women out here and a lot of men out here that are big grown little girls or big grown little boys. They still have the mentality of a teenager. They still have the mentality of a 9-year-old. They are stuck somewhere back there. Just because you get old does not mean you get wise. Wise is wisdom comes from the application of knowledge that you know. That's what makes you wise. Wise is not knowing the information. Wise is not having the information. Wise is knowing when to apply the information and in what circumstances. That's what makes you wise. Wise is understanding things, people, places, concepts, and being able to fit the puzzle pieces together in the time it takes to fit them together. And that doesn't happen for everybody. Everybody doesn't have that level of cognitive functioning in a way. Okay? So that doesn't make you wise, all right? Time doesn't mature you. Accountability, mental and emotional growth is what matures you. Growing from your situations. You get pregnant at a young age. You have a baby father. He's not a good guy. You get pregnant young. Wisdom is not getting pregnant again by another deadbeat guy. Learning, growing, maturing. This didn't work out for me this time, so let me not do that again. But some people don't even have that level of cognitive function. They're just going to do it again. Just going to just keep doing the same stuff over and over and over again and hoping that it turns out different for them. Like, it doesn't work like that, okay? A situation happening, and instead of playing victim to it, you learn from it. That's another way to grow. When situations happen to you, instead of playing victim to the situation, you learn from the situation, and then you end up growing from the situation. When you're a victim to a situation, you're powerless to change it. I don't like feeling powerless, y'all. I'm sorry. So the next time that you're in a situation, you have that same lack of power to fix it. Because if you were a victim in the situation, the victim has no power. The victim is the victim. The victim got pummeled by the situation. The victim got beat down by the situation. But if you say, okay, this was a cause to an effect, or this was an effect to a cause, what could I have done for this to happen? Ask yourself. The signs will come to you. How did I get here? Instead of asking why, ask what. Most people be like, why is this happening to me? Why do these things keep happening to me? Stop asking why and ask what. What did I do somewhere? What did I not do? What did I say? Where was I at that there's always the answer? The answer always lies within you. Always. Now, there's extenuating circumstances, right? Where you're a child or something and something bad happens to you and you didn't do anything to deserve it. You were a victim in that situation. But once the situation is over, you're no longer a victim to the situation unless you continue to stay stuck in that story. Yes, it happened. Yes, you're hurt. Yes, but we got to move past it. We got to get therapy. We got to get counseling. We got to get life coaching, whatever it is that you need. But do not stay victim to the situation. You have to rise above it so that you can now have the power over your life, what you do, your responses now. Because that part is now up to you. People want other people to pay for their hurt and their pain and their traumas. But that part is totally up to us. We are the only people that have the accountability to deal and work through our own traumas and our own hurts. Okay. Another thing to know is that situations always continue repeating themselves in your life, and they continue to show up in your life until you can grow past that version of yourself. So let's just say you keep having, I don't know, it could be anything, honestly. Bad relationships. You keep having conflict with siblings, parents, peers. And every time you say you're going to do better next time. But the time for growth is now. All right. And that's why some people constantly seem to go through the same situations over and over and over again. And it's because they refuse to grow past it. That's why it keeps happening. They choose the same answer every single time, and the answers are never usually wrong or right. They're usually just neutral, but you keep choosing the same answer. Instead of choosing A this time, choose C, and then see what happens. All right? That's how you stay exactly where you're at. Every time a situation happens, you choose the same thing every time. One day you got to grow past that and say, I've been doing that every single time. And then even being able to recognize when the situation is presenting itself. Oh, this is the same thing, because it's usually the same soup in a different bowl. It's always the same thing, y'all. It's never nothing really that different. But we don't notice that it's different because it's wrapped in a different gift wrap. It's wrapped in a different paper. But we don't realize that the core of the issue is the same. Again, that's where wisdom comes in at, all right? And that's why, honestly, some people are farther along mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and even physically. Because they're willing to grow past that version of themselves. You know how physically you go to the gym, right? So right now, back of my arms, my mid-back, and my shoulders are in excruciating pain right now. And it's because I allowed my husband to work me out at the gym, and he doesn't let you stop when you just want to stop. He makes you get those last 5 reps as much as you can do. My body is so sore. I cannot wait to get in the bath and put some Epsom salt in it because it hurts so bad. But here's the thing. I will never grow past this version of my body unless I feel the pain of pushing past this version. And that's how I'm going to get better physically. Mentally and emotionally, you're never going to get past who you are mentally and emotionally until you feel the pain of growing past that version of yourself. And usually that pain happens when a situation happens and you like, ugh, I want to punch her dead in her face, but I'm going to walk away when normally you would have did it. Or, oh, I want to cuss her out. Next time I'm going to, oh, and then the next time something like that happens and you say, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different. The next time you want to, fight with your husband or go back and forth and you say, you know what, this time I'm going to be quiet. It never feels good when you do it because you always low-key feel taken advantage of. But that's because a lesser version of you is dying in that moment. Your ego is dying right then and there in that very moment. And the higher version of yourself is now showing up for you in that very moment. It always hurt when ego dies. It's like you're stabbing it a little bit, and he's like, no, no. And you're just like, hey, you got two versions of you at all times. You get to choose which version of you you operate in. And it hurts. Accountability hurts, but accountability kills the ego side of you so that your higher self can always show up. Okay. I don't like being powerless to change, y'all. I don't like feeling like a victim in a situation. I don't enjoy that position. I don't enjoy feeling like I have no control over things. I don't like feeling like this. The time is actually now, okay? This is your only moment of power. Your point of power is always now. It's never farther. It's always now. All right? So, you got to be willing to do that last set. You know how in the gym, you got to be willing to do that last set. No matter how much it burns, no matter how much it hurts, in order to build resilience, tenacity, and strength. And it's no different for your emotional and your mental being as well. All right? So the great changes that happen in our life, people are so fooled, do not happen progressively over long periods of time, y'all. The great changes that happen in our life are the result of conscious decisions that are made at specific moments. All right? And it will always burn. It's always the burn. It will always burn in that moment once you make that conscious decision. Okay? You got to make it at a specific moment in time, and that's your catalyst for growth. Right then, right there, right in that moment. Don't wait. Don't say next time. Don't say next time it shows up. Do it right here, right now. If your MO is to walk away in the middle of conflict, don't walk away this time. Stay. If your MO is to get up in everybody's face in the middle of conflict, don't do that. Stay quiet. If your MO is to get violent when you feel upset, don't do that. Chill out. Whatever it is, your moment of power is now. The time is only in your present moment. You don't have the past to deal with, and you don't have the future to look forward to. You only have now. So utilize your point of power now, because that's all you have. Okay? A lot of people wait until they know the situations after. They be like, ooh, hindsight. I probably could have said that better. I probably could have did that better. I probably could have not did that. I probably could have not did that. It's too late then. Another situation has to show up to prove to you that you would do it different next time. Oh, next time I'm going to do better. No. Do it this time. Do it now. That's it. That's all you have. All right? If you start to utilize your moments of here and now, you'll watch yourself quantum leap spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. You will. It's inevitable. You will have to grow. Okay? So too often we ignore the power of now. And too often we pass off for tomorrow what can be done today. Too often we miss out on our opportunities for growth because we're too busy playing victim, too busy blaming everybody else instead of taking accountability, taking charge of our life, our circumstances, our conditions, and every other mess that we find ourselves involved in. Too often we miss our opportunities just because we wanted to pass it up. Yes.
You doing your thing?
Yeah.
Oh, my fault.
Oh. My son's just crazy. After you just came in. So when you're a victim means you're powerless to change. We know that, all right? I don't enjoy that position. I don't know about y'all. I enjoy being in a place of power. I like having control over my life. I like having control over my circumstances. I like feeling like if I'm not the victim in a situation, that means I had something to do with it. And if I had something to do with it, that means I have the power to change it. So I don't like feeling victimized. And that's why everybody be like, oh, you're unbothered. I'm not unbothered. I'm just not a victim. Like when my fire happened, I was just like, okay, now what? What's the next step? Like I'm not a victim. I am a victim of a fire, but I don't like to feel and play victimized. Like want people to feel sorry for me, want all this attention, want everybody calling me and reaching out, and I was so grateful that people did, but I didn't expect it, and I didn't expect it, and I didn't it wasn't something that was like a, what do you call it, like something that was mandatory. It was just something that I was appreciative of that it happened, but if it didn't, I was going to have to move on anyway. I was going to have to move forward anyway. All right. So when you take accountability in situations, you take your power back. There were many things that I took accountability for with that fire. Number one, that toaster oven shouldn't have been on that table. That's number one. Number two, yes, the toaster. So again, the toaster oven was faulty. It was broken. It was a mechanical, electrical error that happened in the toaster oven. But it also should have never been where it was sitting. So yeah, I could blame them, or I could take accountability and blame myself a little bit because I could have did better. You know what I'm saying? So when you take accountability, you take your power back. And guess what? I will never have that situation again. That's not something that I would do. It's just not. I'm going to grow from that, just in general. First of all, I probably won't have a toaster oven in my house at all. Because for what? I have an air fryer now. I don't need that. But the good thing is, the one thing, you want you and your husband both be on the same page and things like this, right? Me and my husband are both accountability takers. And it's annoying because we'll get in an argument and first we'll be deflecting back and forth, and then all of a sudden it'll click for one of us first that'll be like, no, you know what, you're right, it was my fault. And then the other one will notice what the other one is doing, like, oh, you're trying to take the power. Okay, no, you know what, you're actually right, it was my fault, because had I not done this, you wouldn't have done that. No, because at day's end, the accountability falls on me. You want to be going back and forth trying to take the accountability, because the person that takes the accountability is the person that grows in the situation. So we always do that. We always end up, no, you know what, I apologize. You know what, no, I apologize, because had this not happened, and then he always ends up winning because he'll be like, well, nope, because I'm the guy, accountability fall on me. And had I not done this, and this, you wouldn't even be where you're at right now to be able to do this and say this. So you know what? It's my fault. I'll take it. And I'd be like, I can't let you take all of it. That's not even fair. I'm responsible for my own actions. So I shouldn't have done A, B, C, and D. And in the end, we end up great because both parties ended up just kind of being like, you know what? No, that wasn't right what I did. That wasn't right what I said. I could have done that better. I could have done a better job, you know? So, you want that in your relationship. You don't want a relationship where you both are deflecting back and forth. You did this. Well, you did this. Well, I wouldn't have did this if you didn't do that. Well, I wouldn't have did that if you didn't do this. And now nobody actually stops and says, you know what? You're right. I could have did that better. I didn't have to say that like that. I didn't have to make you feel like that. I didn't have to, yell like that. I didn't have to, grab you like that. Whatever it is that we be doing when we be mad. You know what I mean? It's never a point in being a victim. Always take your power back. Allow life school. Allow people. Allow your mates. Allow your boss. Allow any of these people to help with your pruning process. Don't pass it off, people. Don't pass it to somebody else. Do not pass the pruning to your neighbor. Keep it. Okay? Don't allow somebody else to take advantage of the growth that could have been yours. You can be much farther in life, but you're so busy blaming everybody that you can't be farther because it's everybody else's fault for why you're not doing it. I'm telling y'all, I see it every day. At my job, I just be looking like, oh, they'll learn when they get older. Like, excuses for everything. When I tell you everything, I mean everything. Why don't you have a uniform on? I don't have clean clothes. I couldn't do laundry. But you know that you go to school every day. So wash it. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, and One time I was at, they'd be so mad at me because one time when I was, it was a test to take, and I had been telling them to study all week, and they weren't studying. They were playing, they were jumping, they were talking to each other. They weren't, and I'm not a micromanager, so I said what to do because I feel like, again, I'm not a babysitter. I'm a teacher. I'm going to hold you accountable to what we both said we were going to do. I said I was going to teach you. You signed up to learn. I'm fulfilling my end of the contract, so you have to fulfill your end of the contract. Like, that's how life works. Like, what are we doing here? I told them to study for the test. They want to play around. They're not joking around. They're not studying. I told them all week. They didn't even have to do any hands-on work because I told them this test's going to be hard. You got to study. Take time during the day to study because I know some of y'all got kids at home. You got to say your kids got in the way and the babies was crying. And the girl gets to school the next day and she's so upset because the test is today, and she left her book at the school the night before. And I said, okay. She was like, I'm not ready to take the test. And I'm not, why? She's like, because I couldn't study. And I'm like, why not? She's like, because I left my book here last night. And I called the other teacher to come back and unlock the door, but she said she couldn't because she was on her way to her other job. I'm like, right. She's like, so I couldn't study last night. I said, but what about all week? Because had you been studying all week, like I asked you to, you studying last night and you leaving your book here yesterday wouldn't have made no difference because you would have already been studying all week, like I requested. Now you're mad because the test is today and it's our fault because you left your book at the school. And no teacher will come back and unlock the door. Hey, we're done at 3:30. At 3:31, we're in our car. So, and at 3:31, we're not mandated to come back to open the door for y'all to come in and get something that you forgot. That's just us being nice if we do that. We don't have to do that. And most times we have other things to do, like pick our kids up or go to our other jobs. So, no. So she walks out the classroom mad as hell, crying because she said that I told her I didn't care if she failed the test. That's not what I said. I said you should have been studying all week like I requested. And then your book being here overnight wouldn't have made a difference. Wouldn't have made too much of a never mind. But she was so mad at me, and I'm like, how are you mad at me when one, you left your book, and two, you didn't study all week? Like, whose fault is that? It's my fault now? It's crazy to me how much people feel. But want to know why? Because the truth hurts. And when I said the truth about you, yeah, you left your book yesterday, but you didn't study the day before yesterday? Or the day before that? Or Monday, since I gave y'all, the test was like on a Friday. I gave them till Monday, from Monday to Friday to study. But sorry. Don't allow somebody else to take advantage of the growth that could have been yours. When you start to feel that burn, the burn of holding your tongue, the burn of feeling like it was somebody else's fault, but taking it anyway, the burn of not needing to be right, the burn of fixing a flaw that you have every right to have, actually, because the flaw is based on your trauma, the burn of releasing your trauma. This all hurts, but it is the very evidence that your ego is dying and your spirit and God-like essence is coming through. And that's what you want. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to start to come through. And once that starts to come through, it will be easier and easier to grow and glow. Trust me. I promise you that. Okay? So much easier to grow, and you'll start to look better. You will start to feel better. And it's just something you need to even teach your kids now. Listen, Terrellis is 9 years old. Yesterday, they were playing Twister with all his cousins, and his father was like, why is this Twister thing all balled up? Like, it looks terrible. It's supposed to be flat. Like, it was nice and regular, and now you balled it up and da-da-da. Rel didn't do it. And I knew that Rel didn't do it. And his sister, not his sister, my husband's sister knew that Rel didn't do it. And she was like, what? Like, that wasn't even, and I was like, shh. And she was like, and then my husband looked at me and said, "What?" And I was like, "Nothing." And then he realized, like, oh, that wasn't him. One of his little cousins had used the twister thing and just balled it up and put it in the box. And it was up to Rel at that moment to be like, "Dad, I didn't do this." But here's the thing, the accountability falls on you, buddy. It's your toy. And if your little cousin came over here and balled the thing up, it was your job to tell him either not to do that or to open it back up, fold it back up neatly, and put it back. It happened to his little operation game too. Like, he was missing some pieces. And I was like, "Bro, why are the pieces missing?" Judah was playing. I don't know if it was Judah or Blue. I don't know which one it was. But he was playing with it. And this is your toy. You're in charge here. The accountability always falls on the person in charge. Last I checked, y'all are in charge of your lives, right? So the accountability will always, 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 no matter what, fall on you. All right. So that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. I love y'all. I thank y'all so much for watching. And I will be back probably next week with another controversial topic, as always.